The champ is here, and he does come from a land down under. And this Saturday, UFC 325 on Paramount Plus. Alexander Volkanovski back in the main event, the featherweight champ once again, but a rematch, of course, against Diego Lopes. And champ at age 37. I mean, look, it looked like you hadn't missed a beat last April when you won that vacant championship. How does it feel the second time around entering into this rematch, knowing that you've been there, you've fought the best, and you're still on top?
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. Like I still feel great. I still feel great. I still feel like I've got it. I know I'm always going to play into the old man thing, and everyone's going to keep mentioning the how old I am. I'm going to keep bringing it up because, like, I just like I want that to be a part of the story. I just, as I always say, um, I love when people are going to doubt and have these questions because they are real questions anyway, but I get to overcome them and it just makes a win even bigger. But I still feel great. We obviously already fought. We know I've done pretty well in rematches. Well, I'm used to rematches as well. And just I'm used to rematches in this high level, highest level as well. So that's something that I'm going to be taking in there. I think I can, even though I was quite dominant in that first one, he did have his moments. One thing that I want this time is just to not give him those moments. You know what I mean? Like I want to take as minimal damage as I can because I had too big of a break after the last one because I had to get over a couple of nigglies. I don't want that to happen this time, so I can get back in there and maybe mid-year see what we can do.
Well, look, it's a crowded title picture as it usually is in this deep division. Were you surprised that Lopes ultimately got the call for the immediate second chance when there are some top contenders hungry on his heels?
Well, I originally thought it would be, your Movzars and Lerone Murphys and that, but I eased into it, so it wasn't a complete surprise because I did know Lopes was, trying when he was fought in September. I think they threw so many names at him, and everyone was, I guess, saying no. So he was just saying yes to everyone. So I was aware of that. And then the Movzar thing happened. He got injured. They tried to postpone and that. And I was like, oh, man, they're not going to give him a shot. And then Lerone Murphy come in and then obviously did his thing. So I'm like, it's probably going to be him, right? But then they said, no, we're going to wait for Silva and Lopes. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm easing into it. Could be one of those. Probably Silva if he wins. So I was sort of eased into that, if that makes sense. So it wasn't a complete surprise. Even with the Movzar, I thought it would be Movzar. Then I got told that he was probably going to fight someone. I'm like, oh, all right, well, if he wins, it's definitely him. And then he didn't. So it was weird. It was like, because I'm pretty aware of what's going on. I know how the UFC works. So it was like, I knew where it was going bit by bit. So nothing was a complete surprise. So it was slowly playing out in front of me.
Look, the betting odds are fairly the same as what they were ahead of your first fight with Diego back at UFC 314 and where they are now. And maybe the narrative is the idea that Diego Lopes can only improve on his performance in the first fight. On the flip side, though, how much do you feel like you can improve on what was a very commanding performance overall against Lopes?
Yeah, man, I think there's a lot that I can capitalize on. Like, and I'm capable of that. I'm capable of changing things, mixing things up, new strategy. Whether I want to take it down, whether I want to take it like short range, whatever it is, I feel like I can make whatever adjustments needed. He like and this isn't knocking him. I just don't know what is he capable of. Like I know a lot of people like how much he's going to improve so much. I don't know if I've seen that in his last fight, to be quite honest. And how much is he capable of changing? And if he tries to, is that going to hold him back from what he does best? I think he's most dangerous fighting the way he does. He's going to be my biggest threat fighting the way he does, just looking for that big shot. But if he tries to out-strategize me and, do all this sort of stuff, I think that just makes it a lot harder for him. And if he does plan on doing that, that's going to quickly change halfway through the first round. So, I don't know. I just don't know what he's really capable of. And that's no knock because I don't think he needs to change too much.
Well, look, if the pre-fight embedded countdowns are any indication, it does seem like Lopes has been focusing a ton on his grappling, on his wrestling game. We certainly saw that in the Noche UFC victory over Gian Silva last September. Are you expecting a different attack from him from that standpoint? Are you expecting him to try to take you to the ground?
That's something that I feel like he can do. Obviously, he's got incredible grappling, jiu-jitsu, very, very high level jiu-jitsu, very dangerous jiu-jitsu. And he did look strong. If there's anything that I've seen in his last fight that I could say was an improvement, was maybe his strength in his wrestling. So that's something, because he looked like he took Silva down with ease and controlled him with ease. So that's something that I did take out of that. And so that's something that I feel like he might do. But for me, bring that on. Everyone knows my takedown defense, and I think that'll, no matter where he takes this, I feel like it'll be a rough night for him. I truly do believe that. I believe I'm the guy that can handle any position in there. Just I've got to make sure he doesn't land that big shot that I know he's going to eventually look for when things aren't going his way.
He did land a few good shots, dropped you there, but you showed a fantastic ability to recover. How would you ultimately rate Lopes's power from that first fight?
You gotta put it right up there. Just because if you look at the technique in the actual shots, like a lot of times, even when he's landing, it's not even pure technique. It's like a sort of out of position punches. And, you see him with the fight where he's holding on the back of the head and doing these short little uppercuts, dropping people and knocking them out with them. He even has a weird style sort of punch where mechanically not how how you would fire a punch. Like an Ilia Topuria has got this perfect technique, and then you understand why there's so much power behind it. Him, like, he doesn't even need technique, and there's just sheer power and just solid hands. You know what I mean? And I was hurting after that fight. I'll be honest. There was like stitches all over me, and I was banged up, had stitches in my mouth, which was hurt. I obviously couldn't see out of the eye in that fourth round, and had some things that I had to take care of with the eye, and yeah, I definitely felt the punches after anyway.
Volk, you've accomplished so much in your career. The hit list of Hall of Fame names that you've defeated are who's who in the history of this division. If you win on Saturday, that'll put you at 6 featherweight title defenses, one short of the Jose Aldo UFC record. In your eyes, is there a debate at all in terms of who's the greatest featherweight in MMA history?
That's not for me to decide. Again, I've got nothing but respect for Aldo. You know what I mean? Like someone just asked me, am I trying to take out his record of how many defenses? I'm not. Obviously, I want to keep winning and all that sort of stuff, but that's not what I'm chasing. I'm not trying to outdo Aldo. I'm just trying to do my best and give myself a good legacy. It's not like I'm trying anything like that. One thing that I will say, because a lot of people are going to bring up the resumes and stuff like this, and I get that, but you got to understand, for someone like Aldo to be like that many defenses, like it's so impressive, because no matter the competition and all that, for you to have to defend back to back with weight cuts, injuries, how many things can go wrong in this sport for you to be a champion for so long? That's saying something, you know what I mean? So I'm always going to have so much respect for him. But for me, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, you know what I mean? And, and I'll let that speak for itself and let people decide all that. But I'm pretty proud with my resume. That's good enough for me.
Well, a victory over a 32-year-old Jose Aldo, 3 wins over Max Holloway. You certainly have a lot to be proud of, and that's just part of the resume. I know this isn't a Volk retirement tour under any means. You expect to defend that title on Saturday, but is there a part of your legacy that you're the most proud of?
Is there a part of my legacy, you're saying?
What are you most proud of when you look at everything you have accomplished?
Just that I've been able to be myself through the whole process. Honestly, I believe Me doing that is what helped me be a great champion inside the octagon and obviously out. I feel like, there was even the support and the love that I have now is because I'm that guy. People can really feel like they can relate to me, connect with me. And I feel that. I really do feel it. It wasn't always like that. I wasn't the most loved fighter. It took a while, but now, like, just the love and the support I have, like, now I'm doing the cooking stuff, the skills, everything I'm doing, the support I get is like it's unbelievable. It really is. And I have nothing but me just being myself to thank for that. And I think there's so many pluses about that. Like, you set a good example for the younger generation, for my kids. Again, it helped me, stay true to myself and stay grounded, which made me still work hard. Like, so that helped my career in fighting. But not only that, it just helped me grow in so many different ways. And then on top of that, all the other things that it's gonna help with. So very, very, very proud that I've been able to just be myself through the whole process.
Well, look, your legacy is multifaceted because you've got the longevity. You've also got that part of it where you lost the title and you came back and won it back. Look, losses happen at the highest level. Sometimes they can be devastating. Did you have to reinvent yourself at all in the last few years mentally to put yourself back in the spot that you are now?
I mean, yeah, of course. You have to get your head around things like that. People, if you told me um, straight after the Islam knockout, this obviously our second fight, we're short notice and obviously, knockout, bad concussion. Didn't respect that, didn't really, people talk about, being knocked out affects your confidence and all this sort of stuff. There's no way you could have made me believe that. And I didn't until I was in there. You know what I mean? A quick turnaround like I did have against a dangerous guy like Ilya Tapori just should never have happened. But you couldn't have told me any different. But then you go in there and you start, second guessing yourself, and you're in two minds in there, trying to tell yourself, no, 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 you're sweet, but at the same time you're freaking out in your head. So it's I didn't know about all that, but then having the break and then find like the realizing, all right, this is a thing. Let's settle. Let's let their head recover, and you get your head around that. Like that's what I mean when I say adversity was a privilege. There's so many things that come into play, mentally and physically. The things you've got to get through after 2 KO losses and having such a big break at that age. You know what I mean? It's you got to be mentally strong. You got to be able to switch something up there, and very proud that I was able to do that. Especially against a dangerous guy like Lopes.
Look, you've had such great coaching over the years that has helped you become, you could argue, one of the most well-rounded fighters we've ever seen, from Joe Lopez, Eugene Berriman, Craig Jones in your corner at different times. Are you still evolving at age 37? Can we expect different wrinkles from Volk come Saturday night in this rematch?
Of course, like I feel like I'm strong everywhere, right? I feel like I've always been very, very strong everywhere, and a lot of those stuff are always going to work because I've always had a strong game around it. But then you're just adding other little tiny things to it, you know what I mean? And depending on it just how much do I evolve is a tough question, but how much I can evolve my game for a certain opponent. That's something that and me being the guy with the fight IQ, and even though I'm great, like these things that I want to do, say with Lopez, like might not work with someone else, but I can, I can fine tune all these things so well to just counter things that they're doing. So I can always make them adjustments and evolve that way, if that makes sense. Do I want to go out there and completely change my game? No, I don't want to. That can be a problem. But I can always, because I'm so well rounded, these fine little adjustments for specific opponents is crucial, and that's what will make you. That's the I guess you could say the fight IQ's evolved and my experience and the composure is always going to be evolving. And that's why I can really implement those little key changes from guys like you're saying, the coaches that I have. This is something we need to capitalize here, capitalize there. That won't work with this guy, but for Lopez, this will be perfect here. Let's do this, let's do that. All right, sweet. Now I've got that dialed in. Now that's foolproof. Now I've evolved that side of the game against Lopez. And that's crucial.
Well, we can't wait to see the results of the preparation this Saturday, UFC 325, Paramount Plus, Sydney, Australia, the homecoming for the Chef Volk. Can't wait to see it. Thanks for the time, and we're looking forward to this one.
Thank you. I'll be putting on a show. Make sure you tune in.